This week's exercise is a complex slap and pop groove written in the style of French-Canadian bassist Alain Caron. Let's take a look at how to play it. This exercise features the use of an advanced slap bass technique that requires you to be comfortable with slapping and popping notes on the same string. In fact, you'll need to be comfortable with slapping and then popping with the first and second fingers on the same string in fairly quick succession. Now, this makes for a fairly versatile technique, and it's something that can be used to play melodic lines as well as complex semiquaver based slap grooves. And this is something that you can hear Alain Caron use the technique to do on tracks such as Decode and Slam the Clown, which are two of his most popular pieces. Now, if you enjoy working on this exercise, I thoroughly recommend looking at those compositions as further study pieces, and I'll put links to YouTube performances of those pieces in the comments box below. So one thing I'd like to mention before we get started on the line itself is I'm going to be demonstrating this on a 5-string bass because it's built around the low D. Now, if you don't have a 5-string bass, you'll find that the line works equally well on a 4-string, so there should be no problems there. Okay, let's take a look at the first bar. On beat 1 of bar 1, we're going to play 4 semiquavers, and these are all going to be played on the low B string. So we're going to start by slapping the low D at the 3rd fret of the B string. We're going to follow that with a popped ghost note on the same string. You're going to pop that with your first finger. I'm going to follow that with another ghost note popped with the second finger, and then we're going to finish that beat by slapping another ghost note. So we have 4 notes. Okay, now that's quite a challenging thing to do if you've never used the slapping and popping on the same string technique before. And what I'd suggest you do if that's not comfortable is just work on that in isolation before moving on with the exercise. And you can develop that into exercises of your own by just moving it around the fingerboard and perhaps even playing basic scales with it. Okay, but moving on to beat 2, we have something a bit simpler this time. We're going to pop the D at the 5th fret of the A string, and then we're going to slap the D at the 3rd fret of the B string. Okay, so beats 1 and 2 together sound like this. And again. Now on beat 3, we're going to do pretty much the same thing as we did on beat 1, so a slap, pop with the first finger, pop with the second finger, and another slap. The difference is this time we're not going to actually sound the low D on the first part of the beat. We're just going to play a ghost note. So just 4 ghost notes, like so. And then on beat 4, we're going to do pretty much the same thing as we did on beat 2, but this time we're going to pop the C at the 3rd fret of the A string and then slap the low D. So bar 1 is going to sound like this. Let's move on to bar 2. The first 2 beats of bar 2 are pretty much the same thing as the last 2 beats of bar 1. So we have a whole beat of ghost notes played on the B string, and then on the second beat of the bar we're going to pop a note on the A string and then slap that low D. So this time around we're going to be popping the B at the 2nd fret of the A string. So we've been playing the same phrase over and over again, 4 ghost notes and then popping notes on the A string, and those notes have been gradually moving downwards. We start with a D, move down to the C, and then down to the B. So far in bar 2 we've done this. Now at the end of bar 2 we have a bass fill, and this is played as follows. First of all, you're going to slap a dead note on the E string, and then you're going to pop the G at the 3rd fret of the E string. We're then going to slap that G with the thumb, and then we're going to hammer on to the A at the 5th fret. We're going to follow that by popping the C at the 3rd fret of the A string. Then we're going to come back and slap the A at the 5th fret of the E string. We're then going to pop the C one more time and then hammer on to the D, like so. Okay, now when I'm playing that line, you'll notice that I'm fretting all of the notes with the 1st and 4th fingers of my fretting hand, and letting the second and third fingers in between rest on the lower strings to act as a mute. When you use a fairly aggressive technique like this on a 5 or a 6 string bass, you'll find that one of the most important things is muting the lower strings to stop them humming in the background. Anyway, let's move on to the next 2 bars. Bars 3 and 4 of this exercise are almost identical to bars 1 and 2, and in fact the only thing that we need to look at now is the fill at the end of bar 4. So we're going to slap a dead note on the A string, and we're going to follow that with a popped F at the 3rd fret of the D string. We're then going to follow that by slapping the D at the 5th fret of the A string. We're then going to pop the C at the 3rd fret of the A string and slap the A at the 5th fret of the E string. We're then going to pop the C at the 3rd fret, slap the D, and then we finish the line by popping the F again. Okay, so once again you'll probably see that I'm fretting all of the notes using the 1st and 4th fingers, and I'm using my 2nd and 3rd fingers to rest on the lower strings in between in order to mute them as much as possible. Okay, that brings us to the end of the exercise. One final thing that I'd like to mention is the tone that I used when I was recording this piece. So I was playing through this GB 5-string bass. I'm using both pickups. I've boosted the treble control a little bit and backed off of the bass control just slightly. And I recorded the line using a chorus pedal, which is something that you'll hear Alain Caron doing on those tracks that I mentioned earlier. I was using the EBS unichorus pedal, and I set the depth control to the 10 o'clock position, and I had the rate control quite low down at the 7 o'clock position. The toggle switch in the middle was set to chorus. And you'll find that a lightly chorused slap bass sound works really well with this kind of line. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the latest instalment in my Bass Lick of the Week series. As ever, you can download the PDF worksheet and backing track by clicking on the link in the description below, and of course I'll be interested to hear any of your comments on this week's line. I'll see you next week for another bass groove.